Cosmic Whispers in the Night, Tales of Alien Encounters. In Cosmic Whispers in the Night, Tales of Alien Encounters, embark on a gentle journey beyond the stars. The story follows Emily, a curious and dreamy-eyed young woman living in a small, idyllic town. One peaceful night, as the moon casts a soft glow over her garden, Emily is drawn to a strange, muted light in the nearby forest. Upon investigation, she discovers a being from another world, Zara, an alien with a serene, otherworldly presence. Zara's planet, a place of floating gardens and crystal-like structures, is as fascinating as it is mysterious. Instead of the typical action-packed alien encounters, this story unfolds in a slow, soothing rhythm. As Emily and Zara communicate through a blend of images and gentle sensations, they share their respective cultures, hopes, and fears. Zara teaches Emily about the interconnectedness of all life in the universe, while Emily shows Zara the simple joys of Earth, like the taste of freshly baked bread and the sound of birdsong at dawn. The narrative weaves a tapestry of wonder and tranquility, inviting listeners to relax, unwind, and let their minds drift among the stars. With its calming pace and enchanting atmosphere, it's the perfect bedtime story, lulling you into a peaceful slumber while filling your dreams with the magic of the cosmos. Chapter 1: The Glow in the Forest. Emily had always been captivated by the tranquility of the night. Her small cottage in the town of Rosewood, snugly positioned on the fringe of an ancient forest, was her sanctuary. The gentle murmur of the leaves and the occasional hoot of an owl were the soundtrack of her evenings, lulling her into a sense of peace. One warm summer night, as the moon cast a silver glow over her garden, Emily was enjoying the simple pleasure of a stroll among her blooming flowers. The air was thick with the sweet scent of roses and lavender. As she turned to head back inside, a faint, shimmering light caught her eye. It was coming from deep within the forest, a soft, otherworldly glow that seemed to pulse gently. Curiosity welled up within Emily. She had explored the forest countless times during the day, but this light was something new. It was not the harsh glare of a flashlight or the flickering of a fire. This glow was different, almost as if it was alive. Without a second thought, she decided to follow it. As she made her way into the forest, the underbrush crunched softly beneath her feet. The familiar sounds of the nocturnal creatures seemed to fade away, replaced by an almost eerie silence. The light grew brighter with each step she took, guiding her deeper into the woods. Emily's heart beat a little faster, not from fear, but from the excitement of the unknown. After what felt like an eternity, she reached a small clearing. In the center of the clearing stood a figure, bathed in the strange, radiant light. Emily gasped. It was a being like nothing she had ever seen before. It was slender, its body seemingly made of a substance that was both solid and yet translucent, as if it was composed of a million tiny, glowing crystals. The being's eyes were large and oval-shaped, filled with an intelligence and warmth that were immediately disarming. They were a deep, iridescent blue, like the heart of a glacier. Its head was slightly larger than a human's, and it had long, delicate tendrils that flowed gently behind it, almost like a mane of hair. "Hello," Emily said, her voice barely above a whisper. She wasn't sure if the being could understand her, but it seemed the most natural thing to say. The being regarded her for a long moment, its eyes never leaving hers. And then, Emily felt a strange sensation wash over her. It was as if a warm, gentle breeze had passed through her mind, carrying with it a flood of images and emotions. She saw a vision of a beautiful planet, a world unlike anything she could have ever imagined. There were floating gardens that seemed to be made of living light, their colors shifting and changing like a kaleidoscope. The cities were built of a material that sparkled and glowed, rising up from the ground in graceful, organic shapes. There were no straight lines, only curves and spirals, as if the architecture had grown rather than been constructed. Emily knew, without being told, that this was the being's home planet. She could feel the love and pride the being had for its world, the deep connection it had to every living thing on that distant sphere. And then, the images changed. She saw the being's journey through space, the vast expanse of the cosmos stretching out before it. She witnessed the beauty of nebulae, the birth and death of stars, and the countless planets that dotted the universe. In return, Emily shared images of her life in Rosewood. She showed the being her cozy cottage, with its thatched roof and the small, flower-filled garden out front. She shared the simple pleasures of baking bread in her old-fashioned oven, the smell of freshly cut grass in the meadows, and the joy of listening to the birdsong at dawn. She showed the being the faces of her neighbors, their kind smiles and the sense of community that filled the small town. As the night wore on, Emily and the being continued to communicate in this silent, yet profound way. The forest around them seemed to be holding its breath, as if the very trees and plants were watching this extraordinary exchange. Emily felt a deep sense of peace, a feeling that she was exactly where she was meant to be. It was as if she had found a long-lost friend in this alien from a far-off world. The being, which Emily decided to call Zara in her mind, then showed her images of the challenges its planet had faced. There had been a time when a great darkness had threatened to engulf their world, a time of war and chaos among different factions. But through unity and a shared vision, they had overcome the darkness, learning the importance of cooperation and understanding. Emily, in turn, shared stories of Earth's history, the wars and conflicts that had plagued humanity, but also the moments of great unity and progress. She showed Zara the beauty of human art, music, and literature, the expressions of the human spirit that had transcended time and culture. As the hours passed, Emily and Zara's connection grew stronger. They learned more about each other's cultures, their hopes, and their fears. Zara showed Emily a unique form of energy that was harnessed on its planet, an energy that was derived from the very fabric of the universe itself. It was a concept that was both fascinating and yet, at the same time, difficult for Emily to fully grasp. Emily, in return, taught Zara about the power of human emotions, how love, compassion, and friendship could bind people together. She shared the story of how, in her small town, neighbors would come together to help one another in times of need, how a simple act of kindness could have a profound impact on someone's life. As the first rays of dawn began to peek through the trees, casting a warm, golden light over the clearing, Emily knew that her life had changed forever. Zara, as if sensing her thoughts, sent a final wave of emotions and images. It was a message of gratitude, of hope for their continued connection, and a promise that they would meet again. With a final, gentle touch of communication, Zara began to fade from sight. The strange, glowing light that had filled the clearing slowly dimmed, and the sounds of the forest began to return. Emily stood there for a long time, looking at the spot where Zara had been. The memories of the night were vivid in her mind, like a beautiful dream that she never wanted to wake up from. As she made her way back to her cottage, the sun rising higher in the sky, Emily couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement and anticipation. She knew that she had experienced something truly extraordinary, a connection with an alien being that would change the way she saw the world. And as she stepped through the door of her cottage, she looked forward to the future, wondering what other adventures awaited her, and how her encounter with Zara would shape her life and the lives of those around her. Back in her cottage, Emily sat down at her small, wooden table. She took out a notebook and a pen, and began to write down every detail of her encounter with Zara. She described the being's appearance, the images it had shown her, and the emotions she had felt. Writing it all down helped her to hold on to the experience, to make it feel more real. As she wrote, she couldn't help but smile. She knew that this was just the beginning. The universe was full of mysteries, and she had been given a glimpse into a world beyond her wildest dreams. And as the morning sunlight filled the room, Emily was filled with a sense of purpose, ready to embrace whatever the future held, and to share the story of her encounter with the world, one day at a time. Chapter 2 – The Echoes of the Encounter. In the days following her encounter with Zara, Emily found herself in a state of mild bewilderment. The small town of Rosewood, with its familiar cobblestone streets and friendly faces, seemed both the same and yet entirely different. Every sight, every sound, carried a new depth of meaning. She would look at the morning sun filtering through the trees and think of the cosmic journey Zara had shown her. The simple act of baking bread in her cottage kitchen made her reflect on the shared experiences of sustenance and community she had communicated to the alien. Emily's days took on a new rhythm. She would wake up with the first light of dawn, not out of habit but in the hope of catching a lingering echo of her encounter with Zara. She would sit in her garden, eyes closed, trying to recall the images Zara had projected into her mind, the floating gardens of Zara's planet, the crystal-like cities that seemed to touch the sky. One morning, as she was watering her flowers, she heard a soft rustling in the bushes. Her heart skipped a beat, and for a moment, she hoped it was Zara. But when she looked up, she saw only a small rabbit hopping away. Disappointment washed over her, but she quickly realized that she couldn't expect Zara to reappear so soon. Determined to make sense of what had happened, Emily delved into her books. She had a small collection of science fiction novels and books on astronomy, but they seemed woefully inadequate to explain her experience. She started to research online, looking for any accounts of similar alien encounters. However, most of what she found were wild stories filled with outlandish claims and no real substance. Despite the lack of concrete information, Emily was not deterred. She knew that her encounter with Zara was real, and she was determined to understand it. She began to keep a detailed journal, not only recording the events of that night but also her thoughts and feelings as she processed the experience. As the days turned into weeks, Emily noticed a subtle change in herself. She was more aware of the world around her, more attuned to the beauty and interconnectedness of all things. She would walk through the forest, not just observing the trees and the wildlife but feeling a deep sense of kinship with them. It was as if Zara had opened her eyes to a new way of seeing the universe. One evening, as the sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the town, Emily decided to return to the clearing in the forest where she had met Zara. The walk through the woods was familiar, yet this time, she felt a sense of anticipation. When she reached the clearing, it was as she remembered it, a small, circular space surrounded by tall trees. The grass was a little overgrown, and the faint indentations where she and Zara had stood were still visible. Emily sat down in the middle of the clearing, crossing her legs. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath, trying to recapture the sense of peace and connection she had felt that night. For a long time, she sat there in silence, letting the sounds of the forest wash over her, the chirping of birds, the rustling of leaves, and the distant call of a deer. Suddenly, she felt a faint presence. Her eyes flew open, and for a split second, she thought Zara had returned. But it was just a gentle breeze that had picked up, carrying with it the sweet scent of wild flowers. Disappointed, she was about to get up when she noticed something strange. On the ground in front of her, a small, glowing object had appeared. It was a crystal-like stone, about the size of her palm. It pulsed with a soft, blue, white light, similar to the glow that had surrounded Zara. Emily reached out and picked up the stone. As she did, a flood of images filled her mind. They were fragments of Zara's memories, images of its home planet during a festival, where the floating gardens were adorned with even more lights and colors, and the people of Zara's world were celebrating in a joyous, unified dance. Emily was stunned. She realized that this stone was some kind of communication device, a way for Zara to stay connected with her. She held the stone tightly, as if afraid it would disappear. The images continued to flow, showing her Zara's ongoing journey through space, the new planets it had visited, and the strange life forms it had encountered. As the images faded, Emily knew that she had to find a way to respond. She concentrated, trying to project her own images and emotions back through the stone. She showed Zara the changes in her life since their encounter, the new perspective she had gained, and her hope for their continued communication. After what felt like hours, the stone began to glow more brightly. Emily took this as a sign that Zara had received her message. She sat there for a while longer, looking at the stone in wonder. When she finally got up to leave, she carefully placed the stone in her pocket, as if it was the most precious thing she had ever owned. Back at her cottage, Emily couldn't contain her excitement. She wanted to share her discovery with someone, but she knew that no one in Rosewood would believe her. So, she turned to her journal, writing down every detail of what had happened in the clearing. Over the next few days, Emily continued to communicate with Zara through the stone. Each time, she learned something new about Zara's world, its culture, and its people. Zara showed her the advanced technology they used for interstellar travel, a technology that seemed to bend the very fabric of space, time. Emily, in return, shared more about Earth, its diverse cultures, the different languages spoken, and the art forms that had evolved over centuries. She showed Zara the beauty of the ocean, the vast deserts, and the majestic mountains. One day, as they were communicating, Zara showed Emily a problem it was facing. There was a group of planets in its part of the galaxy that were in conflict. The conflict was over a scarce resource, and it was threatening to escalate into a full-scale war. Zara was part of a group that was trying to find a peaceful solution, and it was seeking Emily's insights. Emily thought for a long time. She drew on her knowledge of human history, the times when wars had been averted through diplomacy and negotiation. She projected images of peace treaties, of leaders coming together to find common ground. She also shared the importance of understanding each other's needs and perspectives. Zara seemed to take her suggestions to heart. In the following days, it showed Emily the progress it was making in mediating between the warring planets. There were signs of hope, as the planets were starting to communicate and consider peaceful solutions. As Emily watched this unfold through the stone, she felt a sense of pride. She was playing a small part in a much larger cosmic drama, and it made her feel connected to something greater than herself. One evening, as she was sitting by the fireplace in her cottage, holding the stone, Zara showed her a vision of a future where the planets in its galaxy had formed an alliance. It was a vision of unity, where different species worked together, sharing their knowledge and resources for the betterment of all. Emily was inspired by this vision. She projected her own hopes for Earth, a future where humanity could overcome its differences and come together in a similar way. She knew that it was a lofty goal, but after her encounters with Zara, she believed it was possible. As the weeks passed, Emily's connection with Zara grew stronger. The stone became a constant companion, a link to a world beyond her own. And as she continued to communicate with Zara, she realized that her life was no longer just about the simple pleasures of Rosewood. It was about being a part of a cosmic community, about sharing, learning, and growing together with an alien friend from a far-off planet. One day, while Emily was out in the forest, collecting herbs for her garden, she met a young man named David. David was new to Rosewood, and he was exploring the forest. He was intrigued by Emily's friendly smile and the way she seemed to be at one with the forest. "Hello," David said, as he approached her. "I'm new here. This forest is amazing. Do you come here often?" Emily smiled. "Yes, I do. There's something about this place that makes me feel alive." They started to talk, and Emily found herself opening up to David in a way she hadn't with anyone else in a long time. She didn't tell him about Zara, not yet, but she shared her love for the forest, her cottage, and her simple life. David, in turn, told her about his life in the city, his job as an artist, and his decision to move to Rosewood to find inspiration. As they talked, Emily felt a connection with David. He was kind, intelligent, and he seemed to have a deep appreciation for the beauty of the world around him. Over the next few days, Emily and David spent more time together. They would take walks in the forest, have picnics by the stream, and talk about their hopes and dreams. Emily found herself falling for David, and she could tell that he felt the same way. But she also knew that she had a secret, a big one. She was afraid that if she told David about Zara, he would think she was crazy. She struggled with this internal conflict, not knowing whether to keep her encounter with Zara a secret or to share it with the man she was growing to love. One evening, as they were sitting on a hill overlooking the town, watching the sunset, Emily decided to take a chance. She took a deep breath and started to tell David about that night in the forest, about Zara and the strange stone. David listened intently, his eyes wide with wonder. When Emily finished, he was silent for a long time. Emily's heart sank. She was sure he was going to think she was mad. But then, David reached out and took her hand. "Emily," he said, "your story is the most amazing thing I've ever heard. I believe you. And I think it's incredible that you've had this experience." Emily was overjoyed. She couldn't believe that David believed her. From that moment on, she knew that their relationship was different. She had shared her deepest secret with him, and he had accepted it with open arms. With David by her side, Emily continued to communicate with Zara. David was fascinated by the images and stories Zara shared, and he even started to draw pictures inspired by Zara's world. Their small cottage in Rosewood became a place of wonder, filled with the stories of an alien world and the growing love between Emily and David. As the seasons changed, and the leaves on the trees turned from green to a riot of reds, oranges, and yellows, Emily, David, and Zara's connection continued to grow. They were on a journey that was not only about exploring the mysteries of the universe but also about the growth of their own relationship. And as they looked towards the future, they were filled with hope, excited to see where their cosmic adventure would take them next. Chapter 3: Cosmic Crossroads and Earthly Bonds. With David's acceptance of her extraordinary connection to Zara, Emily felt a new sense of freedom and excitement. Their shared exploration of Zara's world through the glowing stone became a regular part of their routine. One crisp autumn morning, as the leaves crunched under their feet during a walk in the forest, Emily and David returned to the clearing where her initial encounter with Zara had taken place. The clearing, now adorned with a carpet of fallen leaves, held a special significance. Emily took the glowing stone from her pocket. As she held it, the stone began to pulse with a more intense light than usual. Images flooded her mind, and she quickly shared them with David. Zara was showing them a cosmic event that was about to occur, a convergence of energy streams from different parts of the galaxy. This event, Zara explained, could have far-reaching consequences for both its own planet and potentially Earth as well. Zara's planet was preparing to use this energy convergence to further its research on interstellar travel and energy production. However, there was a risk. If the energy was not harnessed correctly, it could cause disruptions in the space-time continuum, affecting not only the planets in Zara's vicinity but also those in other parts of the universe, including Earth. Emily and David were immediately drawn into Zara's concern. They spent hours discussing with Zara through the stone, trying to understand the nature of the energy convergence and how they could help. Zara shared its planet's plans to build a massive energy collecting device, a structure that would be able to capture and channel the incoming energy safely. David, with his artistic eye and creative mind, began to visualize the device. He described his ideas to Emily, who in turn relayed them to Zara. Zara was intrigued by David's concepts, which included a design that resembled a large, crystalline flower with petals that could adjust their position to optimize energy collection. As they delved deeper into the discussion, Emily started to think about the implications for Earth. She knew that if the energy convergence had the potential to cause disruptions, they needed to find a way to protect their planet as well. She shared her concerns with Zara, who then showed her some basic principles of energy shielding technology that could be adapted for Earth. Over the next few days, Emily and David worked tirelessly. David created detailed sketches of the energy collecting device for Zara, while Emily started to research how Earth's existing technology could be modified to create a basic energy shield. She reached out to some of her contacts in the scientific community, though she was careful not to mention Zara directly. She presented the problem as a theoretical exercise in energy protection. The responses from the scientists were mixed. Some were intrigued by the challenge and offered their insights, while others dismissed it as too far-fetched. Undeterred, Emily and David continued their efforts. They spent long hours in Emily's cottage, poring over scientific papers and David's sketches. One evening, as they were having dinner, David looked at Emily with a serious expression. "Emily, I've been thinking. If we can help Zara with this energy convergence, it could be a huge step forward for both our worlds. But we need more people on board, people who can really understand the science behind it." Emily nodded. "I know, but how can we convince them without revealing Zara? It's a difficult situation." They decided to hold a small, private meeting with some of the more open-minded scientists in the area. Emily and David prepared a presentation, filled with scientific data and theoretical models, to explain the potential threat and the proposed solutions. The meeting was held in an old, abandoned barn on the outskirts of Rosewood. 6 scientists, including a physicist, an engineer, and a mathematician, gathered to hear what Emily and David had to say. At first, the scientists were skeptical. But as Emily and David presented their case, showing the evidence of the approaching energy convergence, which they had gleaned from Zara's information, and the potential impact on Earth, the scientists began to take notice. The physicist, Dr. Martin, was particularly interested. "This is a fascinating concept," he said. "If what you're saying is true, then we're facing a real challenge. But I'm not sure we have the technology to build an energy shield on such short notice." Emily and David then shared Zara's ideas about energy, shielding technology, adapting them to fit Earth's current scientific capabilities. The scientists were initially taken aback by the advanced concepts but soon realized the potential. Over the next few weeks, the group of scientists, along with Emily and David, formed a secret research team. They set up a makeshift laboratory in the barn, working day and night to develop the energy shield. Meanwhile, Zara was making progress on its planet's energy collecting device. It sent regular updates to Emily through the stone, showing the construction of the device and the preparations for the energy convergence. As the construction of the energy collecting device on Zara's planet neared completion, the research team on Earth was also making headway. They had developed a prototype of the energy shield, a small-scale model that could successfully deflect a limited amount of energy. However, they faced a major setback when they realized that the power source for the full-scale shield would require a new type of superconductor, one that had not yet been developed on Earth. Emily was despondent. She knew that without a suitable power source, all their efforts could be in vain. But then, Zara came to the rescue. Through the stone, it showed Emily a way to create a hybrid superconductor using a combination of Earth-based materials and a rare element found in Zara's planet's atmosphere. Zara explained how the two materials could be combined to create the necessary superconductor. Emily shared this information with the research team. At first, they were skeptical about using an element from an unknown planet, but they were also desperate for a solution. After some debate, they decided to give it a try. The process of creating the hybrid superconductor was complex and dangerous. It required precise control of temperature and pressure. But the team was determined. After several failed attempts, they finally managed to create a small sample of the superconductor. Tests showed that it had the potential to power the energy shield. With the superconductor in hand, the team worked feverishly to scale up the production. As they did, Emily and David's relationship grew stronger. They had been through so much together in such a short time, and the shared goal of protecting Earth and helping Zara had bonded them even more closely. Finally, the day of the energy convergence arrived. On Zara's planet, the energy collecting device was activated. The large, crystalline, flower-like structure opened its petals, ready to capture the incoming energy. On Earth, the research team had completed the installation of the energy shield. It was a large, dome-shaped structure that surrounded a small test area, ready to be powered by the newly created superconductor. Emily, David, and the research team watched with bated breath as the energy convergence began. Streams of colorful energy filled the sky in Zara's part of the galaxy. The energy collecting device on Zara's planet started to hum as it absorbed the energy, channeling it into a safe and usable form. On Earth, the energy shield was powered up. As the energy from the convergence reached Earth's atmosphere, the shield activated. At first, it seemed to hold. The energy was deflected, creating a beautiful display of light around the shield. But then, they noticed a small glitch. A section of the shield was starting to overheat. The research team quickly sprang into action. They adjusted the shield's settings, using the knowledge they had gained from Zara and their own research. Slowly, the overheating problem was resolved, and the shield continued to hold. The energy convergence lasted for several hours. When it finally ended, both Zara's planet and Earth had successfully weathered the event. Zara sent a message of gratitude to Emily and David through the stone, expressing its joy at their successful cooperation. Back on Earth, the research team was hailed as heroes, though they couldn't reveal the true source of their inspiration. Emily and David, however, knew the real story. They had not only helped Zara's planet harness a powerful cosmic event but also protected Earth from potential harm. As the news of the successful energy shield spread, other scientists around the world started to take an interest. Emily and David, along with the research team, were faced with a new challenge: how to share their knowledge without revealing the existence of Zara. They decided to present their findings as a breakthrough in Earth-based research, carefully omitting any references to Zara's technology. The scientific community was impressed, and soon, other teams were working on improving the energy shielding technology. Emily and David, in the meantime, continued their communication with Zara. They had become an important link between the two worlds, and they knew that there were more adventures and challenges waiting for them. Their relationship had blossomed in the face of a cosmic crisis, and they were ready to face whatever the future held, together. One day, as they were sitting in their garden, enjoying the warm autumn sun, Zara showed Emily a new vision. It was a vision of a future where Earth and Zara's planet would collaborate on a grand project, the creation of a cosmic library, a place where the knowledge of both civilizations would be stored and shared with other worlds. Emily and David were excited by the prospect. They knew that such a project would require a lot of work, but they were ready to take on the challenge. With a new goal in sight, they started to plan how they could make this vision a reality. Their journey, which had started with a simple encounter in the forest, was now leading them towards a future filled with even more possibilities. Chapter 4: The Cosmic Library, A Dream in the Making. Emily and David were filled with enthusiasm as they delved into the concept of the cosmic library proposed by Zara. They spent long evenings in Emily's cottage, poring over ideas on how to bring this grand vision to life. The cosmic library was not just a place to store knowledge, it was a symbol of the growing bond between Earth and Zara's planet, a testament to their shared desire for universal understanding. David, with his creative flair, began to sketch out the architectural design of the cosmic library. He envisioned a vast, spherical structure floating in space, its surface made of a material that would refract and reflect light in a mesmerizing display. Inside, he imagined numerous levels, each dedicated to different branches of knowledge, from science and technology to art and culture. Emily, on the other hand, focused on the practical aspects. She started to research how they could transport the knowledge of both worlds to the library. She knew that they would need to develop a secure and efficient data transfer system. She also began to think about the logistics of managing the library, such as who would be in charge of cataloging the information and ensuring its accessibility to other civilizations. As they discussed their ideas, they realized that they would need a lot of help. Emily reached out to the scientists and researchers who had been part of the Energy Shield project. She knew that their expertise would be invaluable in this new endeavor. When she gathered them in the old barn once again, she presented the concept of the cosmic library. The group was initially stunned by the magnitude of the idea but quickly became excited. Dr. Martin, the physicist, was the first to speak. "This is an incredible vision, Emily. But it's going to be a massive undertaking. We'll need to develop new technologies for data storage and transfer, not to mention the challenges of building and maintaining a structure in space." Another scientist, Dr. Chen, an expert in artificial intelligence, chimed in. "We could use AI to manage the cataloging and retrieval of information. It would make the library more efficient and user-friendly for other civilizations." David then showed his sketches of the library's design. The group was impressed by his creativity but also raised concerns about the feasibility of constructing such a complex structure in space. Over the next few weeks, the team began to break down the project into smaller, manageable tasks. They formed sub-teams to work on different aspects, such as data management, structural engineering, and interstellar communication. Emily, in the meantime, continued to communicate with Zara through the glowing stone. Zara was excited to see the progress on Earth and shared more details about the knowledge-sharing culture on its planet. It showed Emily how its people had been collecting and preserving knowledge for centuries, and how they were eager to share it with other worlds. Zara also provided some technological insights. It described a type of organic-based data storage medium that was highly efficient and durable. This information was shared with the data management sub-team, who were immediately intrigued. They started to research how they could adapt this concept using Earth based materials. As the project progressed, Emily and David faced a new challenge: public perception. The news of a proposed cosmic library had started to spread, and some people in Rosewood and beyond were skeptical. They questioned the need for such a project and were concerned about the resources it would consume. Emily and David decided to hold a public meeting to address these concerns. They invited the people of Rosewood and nearby towns to the local community hall. As they stood on the stage, facing a room full of curious and sometimes skeptical faces, Emily began to speak. "Dear friends," she said, "the cosmic library is not just a far-fetched dream. It's an opportunity for us to connect with other civilizations, to learn from them, and to share our own knowledge. It's a chance to show the universe what humanity is capable of. And it's not just about us. It's about creating a better future for all beings in the cosmos." David then showed some of the sketches of the library and explained how it would work. He talked about the potential benefits, such as new scientific discoveries, cultural exchanges, and the possibility of forging new alliances with other worlds. Slowly, the skepticism in the room began to fade. People started to ask questions, showing a genuine interest in the project. Some even offered to help, whether it was through volunteering their time or providing resources. With the found support from the local community, the project gained more momentum. The data management team made significant progress in developing a hybrid data storage system, combining Zara's organic-based concept with Earth's digital technology. The structural engineering team was working on a modular design for the library. They planned to build the library in sections on Earth and then assemble it in space using advanced robotic technology. As the months passed, Emily and David's relationship continued to grow. They supported each other through the ups and downs of the project. There were times when they faced setbacks, such as when a key component of the data transfer system failed during testing. But they always found a way to overcome the challenges. One day, as Emily was communicating with Zara, she received some unexpected news. Zara's planet had discovered a new civilization in a nearby star system. This civilization was also interested in knowledge sharing and had expressed a desire to be part of the cosmic library project. Emily was overjoyed. She shared the news with David and the rest of the team. The idea of including another civilization in the project added a new layer of excitement. It also presented new challenges, such as how to communicate with this new civilization and integrate their knowledge into the library. The team immediately started to research ways to establish communication with the new civilization. They used the knowledge they had gained from their previous work on interstellar communication and the information Zara provided about the new civilization's communication methods. After several attempts, they managed to send a simple message to the new civilization, introducing the Cosmic Library project and expressing their interest in collaboration. They waited anxiously for a response. While waiting, the team continued to work on the other aspects of the project. The modular sections of the library were being built in a large, secretive facility on the outskirts of a nearby city. The data, storage and transfer systems were undergoing rigorous testing. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, they received a response from the new civilization. The message was filled with enthusiasm. The new civilization was eager to be part of the project and shared some of its unique knowledge and technologies. Emily and David were elated. They knew that this was a significant step forward for the Cosmic Library project. The new civilization's inclusion meant that the library would be even more diverse and comprehensive. As they continued to plan for the integration of the new civilization, Emily reflected on how far they had come. From a simple encounter in the forest to a project that was bringing together multiple civilizations, their journey was truly remarkable. The project now had a new sense of urgency. With the addition of the new civilization, they needed to accelerate their efforts. The team worked around the clock, making sure that all the components of the project were in place. One of the biggest challenges they faced was creating a unified cataloging system that could accommodate the knowledge of 3 different civilizations. Each civilization had its own way of classifying information, and finding a common ground was no easy task. Dr. Chen, along with a team of linguists and information scientists, took on this challenge. They spent days and nights analyzing the different classification systems, looking for similarities and differences. They developed a new, universal classification system that was flexible enough to adapt to the unique knowledge of each civilization. As the construction of the modular sections of the library neared completion, the team started to plan the space assembly process. They knew that this would be a critical phase of the project. Any mistake could delay the completion of the library. The space assembly team, consisting of experienced astronauts and engineers, began to train for the task. They used virtual reality simulations to practice the complex maneuvers required to assemble the library in space. Emily and David, in the meantime, were busy coordinating the knowledge collection process. They worked with Zara and the new civilization to ensure that all the relevant knowledge was being prepared for transfer to the library. One day, as they were visiting the construction site of the modular sections, David took Emily's hand. "Emily, look at what we've accomplished. We're really doing it. We're building a cosmic library that will connect civilizations across the universe." Emily smiled. "Yes, we are. And it's all thanks to the amazing team we've gathered and the support of Zara and the new civilization." As they looked at the large, half-built sections of the library, they knew that there were still many challenges ahead. But they were confident that they could overcome them. Their love for each other and their shared vision for the cosmic library gave them the strength and determination to see the project through to completion. The day of the space assembly finally arrived. The modular sections were carefully loaded onto a series of specialized spaceships. The spaceships, equipped with the latest in propulsion and navigation technology, took off from Earth, bound for the designated location in space where the library would be assembled. Emily, David, and the rest of the team watched from a control center on Earth, their hearts pounding with excitement and nervousness. The space assembly process was complex and delicate. The astronauts had to use precise maneuvers to fit the sections together, like a giant cosmic jigsaw puzzle. As the first sections were successfully joined together, cheers erupted in the control center. Emily and David hugged each other, tears of joy in their eyes. They knew that this was just the beginning, but it was a huge milestone for the Cosmic Library project. Over the next few days, the assembly continued. The astronauts worked tirelessly, facing challenges such as space debris and minor technical glitches. But they persevered, and slowly but surely, the Cosmic Library began to take shape. Finally, after a week of intense work, the Cosmic Library was assembled. It stood in space, a magnificent, spherical structure, ready to receive the knowledge of 3 civilizations. Emily, David, and the team on Earth watched as the first data transfer ships were sent towards the library, carrying the precious knowledge that would fill its halls. The Cosmic Library was now a reality. It was a symbol of unity, cooperation, and the pursuit of knowledge across the universe. Emily and David knew that their journey was far from over. There were still many civilizations out there to discover, and the library would need to be maintained and expanded. But for now, they celebrated this moment of achievement, knowing that they had made a significant contribution to the cosmic community. Chapter 5: The Cosmic Library's Inauguration and New Horizons. The completion of the Cosmic Library was a momentous occasion that reverberated across the 3 civilizations involved. The spherical structure, now floating gracefully in space, stood as a beacon of hope and knowledge, a tangible symbol of the unity forged between Earth, Zara's planet, and the newly joined civilization, which they had come to know as the Lumerians. Emily, David, and a select group of representatives from Earth were preparing to travel to the Cosmic Library for its grand inauguration. The journey was not without its challenges, as the spaceship they were to board was a prototype, designed to reach the library's location in the shortest possible time. But the excitement of the event far outweighed any concerns. On the day of departure, the launch site was filled with onlookers. The people of Earth had come to witness this historic moment, to see their representatives embark on a journey to a place that symbolized a new era of cosmic cooperation. Emily and David, along with Dr. Martin, Dr. Chen, and other key members of the project, stepped onto the spaceship with a sense of pride and anticipation. As the spaceship soared into the sky, leaving Earth behind, Emily couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had led them to this point. It all started with a chance encounter in the forest, and now, she was on her way to the inauguration of a cosmic library that would potentially change the course of intergalactic relations. The journey through space was filled with a sense of wonder. The crew spent their time preparing for the inauguration ceremony and familiarizing themselves with the final details of the library's operations. Zara, through the glowing stone, was also in constant communication, sharing its own excitement and providing minute insights into the traditions of its planet for such an occasion. When they finally reached the cosmic library, the sight took their breath away. The library's surface was illuminated by the light of nearby stars, creating a dazzling display. The airlock of the spaceship connected to the library, and the crew stepped out into a large, circular chamber. Inside, the library was a marvel of engineering and design. The walls were lined with what appeared to be living crystals, each one pulsating with a soft, multicolored light. These crystals were part of the data storage system, capable of holding vast amounts of information and making it accessible to visitors. The representatives from Zara's planet and the Lumarians were already there, waiting to welcome them. The Zephyrians, as Emily had come to call them, with their slender, glowing forms, and the Lumarians, who had a more gaseous, ethereal appearance, greeted the Earthlings with warmth. The inauguration ceremony was a beautiful blend of the three civilizations' cultures. The Zephyrians performed a dance of light, their bodies moving in harmony with the rhythm of a cosmic melody. The Lumarians released a cloud of glowing particles that formed intricate patterns in the air, symbolizing the unity of knowledge. And the Earthlings presented a musical piece that combined traditional Earth instruments with modern electronic sounds, representing the blend of old and new in this cosmic endeavor. After the ceremony, the focus shifted to the official opening of the library. Emily, as one of the key figures in the project, was given the honor of initiating the first knowledge transfer. She placed her hand on a control panel, and with a soft hum, the first batch of Earth's knowledge, scientific research, historical records, and cultural masterpieces, began to flow into the library's systems. As the data was transferred, Emily couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. She knew that this was not just about sharing Earth's knowledge but also about opening the door to a wealth of information from other civilizations. The library was a two-way street, a place where all could learn and grow. Over the next few days, the representatives from each civilization worked together to ensure that the library's systems were functioning smoothly. They trained the AI-based cataloging system to recognize and organize the different types of knowledge from the three civilizations. There were initial glitches, especially when it came to the Lumarians' unique way of presenting knowledge, which was more based on energy patterns than on traditional text-based formats. But with patience and collaboration, they managed to overcome these challenges. The AI system was soon able to classify and retrieve information from all three civilizations with ease. Visitors could now access knowledge about Zephyrian energy manipulation, Lumarian spiritual enlightenment, and Earth's diverse cultural and scientific achievements. As the library started to attract the attention of other civilizations in the galaxy, Emily and David found themselves in the role of ambassadors. They received messages from distant worlds, expressing interest in visiting the library and potentially contributing their own knowledge. One such message came from a civilization on a planet made entirely of metal. The Metallians, as they called themselves, were highly advanced in the field of material science. They were intrigued by the concept of the cosmic library and wanted to know more about how they could be part of this cosmic knowledge sharing community. Emily and David, along with the representatives from Zara's planet and the Lumarians, decided to send a welcoming message to the Metalians. They explained the purpose of the library, its operations, and the benefits of collaboration. In return, they asked the Metalians to share some of their basic knowledge in material science, as a gesture of goodwill. The Metalians responded positively, sending a wealth of information about their unique metal-based technologies. This exchange was the start of a new chapter for the Cosmic Library. It was no longer just a project for 3 civilizations but a growing community of knowledge seekers from across the galaxy. Back on Earth, the news of the library's success and the new potential alliance with the Metalians was met with excitement. The people of Earth were proud of the role their representatives had played in this cosmic endeavor. Schools and universities started to incorporate the study of the cosmic library and intergalactic relations into their curriculums. Emily and David, when they returned to Earth for a brief visit, were hailed as heroes. But they were more focused on the future. They knew that there was still so much work to be done. The library needed to be expanded to accommodate the knowledge of more civilizations, and the relationships with existing and new allies needed to be nurtured. They also faced the challenge of how to make the knowledge in the library more accessible to the general public on Earth. While the scientific community was already eager to study the information from other civilizations, they wanted to find a way to bring this knowledge to the masses in an understandable and engaging way. To address this, they proposed the creation of a virtual reality experience. Using the data from the library, they would create immersive environments where people could explore Zara's planet, interact with the Lumarians, and learn about the Metalians' technology. The project was immediately met with enthusiasm. A team of engineers and designers was assembled to work on the virtual reality experience. They spent months creating detailed simulations, from the floating gardens of Zara's planet to the metallic cities of the Metalians. As the virtual reality project neared completion, Emily and David returned to the Cosmic Library. They wanted to ensure that the new content was accurately represented and that the library's systems could support the increased traffic that the virtual reality experience would bring. While at the library, they received another message, this time from a civilization that lived in the heart of a nebula. The Nebulans were a mysterious race, their bodies composed of a strange, energy-infused gas. They had heard about the Cosmic Library and were interested in joining, but they had some unique requirements. The Nebulans were highly sensitive to physical contact and preferred to communicate through a form of telepathic energy waves. They also had a different understanding of time and space, which would require some adjustments to the library's communication and data storage systems. Emily, David, and the representatives from the other civilizations were initially daunted by these challenges. But they saw it as an opportunity to learn and grow. They started to study the Nebulans' communication methods and work on adapting the library's technology to accommodate them. Over the next few weeks, they made significant progress. They developed a special interface that could translate the nebulon's telepathic energy waves into a format that could be understood by the library's systems. They also adjusted the data storage system to account for the nebulon's unique perception of time and space. As they worked on these adaptations, Emily and David's relationship continued to evolve. They had been through so much together, from the initial encounter with Zara to the complex negotiations with new civilizations. Their shared experiences had deepened their bond, and they found themselves relying on each other more and more. Finally, after much effort, the Nebulons were able to join the Cosmic Library. Their knowledge, which included unique insights into the formation of nebulae and the manipulation of cosmic energy, added a new dimension to the library's collection. The Cosmic Library was now a vibrant, growing community of civilizations. Emily and David, as the driving forces behind its expansion, were constantly on the move, traveling between Earth, the library, and the different civilizations. They knew that their journey was far from over. There were still countless civilizations out there, waiting to be discovered, and the Cosmic Library had the potential to become a central hub of cosmic knowledge and cooperation. One day, as they were looking out at the stars from the observation deck of the Cosmic Library, David put his arm around Emily. "Emily, look at what we've built. It's amazing how far we've come, and I can't wait to see where this journey takes us next." Emily smiled, her eyes filled with hope and determination. "Yes, David. The universe is full of possibilities, and I know that together, with all the civilizations in this library, we can achieve even greater things." As they stood there, looking out into the vast expanse of the universe, they were filled with a sense of purpose. The Cosmic Library was not just a building in space, it was a living, breathing testament to the power of unity, cooperation, and the pursuit of knowledge. And Emily and David were ready to continue their journey, to explore new horizons, and to build an even stronger cosmic community. Chapter 6: Cosmic Community Building and Unforeseen Challenges. The Cosmic Library, now a bustling hub of galactic knowledge exchange, continued to attract the attention of civilizations far and wide. Emily and David, along with their allies from Zara's planet, the Lumerians, the Metalians, and now the Nebulons, were at the forefront of this growing cosmic community. With the addition of the Nebulons, the library's collection had expanded to include their unique knowledge of nebula-based energy manipulation and their advanced understanding of the fluid dynamics of cosmic gases. This new knowledge was a goldmine for the scientific communities of all the participating civilizations. Earth scientists, in particular, were eager to study how the Nebulons' technology could potentially revolutionize energy production on Earth. Emily and David were constantly shuttling between Earth and the Cosmic Library, coordinating efforts to integrate the new knowledge into the library's systems and to develop educational programs for the general public. On Earth, the virtual reality experience they had proposed was a huge success. People from all walks of life were able to immerse themselves in the wonders of the other civilizations, fostering a greater sense of cosmic awareness and unity. One day, while Emily was at the library, she received a distress signal from a small, remote planet on the outskirts of their growing cosmic network. The signal was weak and fragmented, but it was clear that the planet was in trouble. Emily immediately alerted David and the representatives of the other civilizations. The planet, named Solara, was home to a civilization that had been in isolation for centuries. They had developed a unique form of biotechnology that allowed them to live in harmony with their planet's harsh environment. However, a strange, unknown force was now threatening their existence. A task force was quickly assembled, consisting of experts from all the civilizations in the cosmic library. The Zephyrians, with their deep understanding of energy fields, the Lumerians, who could sense spiritual disturbances, the Metallians, known for their expertise in material science, and the Earthlings, with their diverse scientific knowledge, all joined forces. The journey to Solara was long and filled with anticipation. As they approached the planet, they could see that it was in a state of chaos. The once lush landscapes were now marred by strange, blackened patches, and the atmosphere was filled with an unusual, static, charged mist. The task force landed on Solara and was immediately greeted by the Solarians. The Solarians were humanoid in form but had a skin that glowed with a soft, green light, a result of their biotechnological adaptations. Their leader, a wise-looking being named Arya, explained the situation. For the past few months, we've been experiencing these strange phenomena. Our crops are failing, and our people are falling ill. We've tried everything, but nothing seems to work. The task force immediately got to work. The Zephyrians began to scan the energy fields around the planet, looking for any signs of interference. The Lumerians, using their spiritual senses, tried to detect any malevolent forces. The Metallians examined the strange blackened patches on the ground, while the Earthlings worked with the Solarians to study the illnesses affecting their people. Dr. Martin, the physicist from Earth, made an important discovery. There seems to be an unusual energy signature in the planet's core. It's unlike anything we've seen before, but it's definitely causing the disruptions on the surface. The Zephyrians concurred. This energy is not natural. It's as if someone or something has deliberately introduced it to the planet. As they delved deeper into their investigations, they discovered that a rogue group of scientists from a neighboring star system had been conducting unauthorized experiments. They were trying to develop a new form of energy weapon, and in the process, they had accidentally leaked a highly unstable energy into Solara's core. The task force knew they had to act quickly. They began to develop a plan to neutralize the unstable energy in the planet's core. The Metallians proposed using their advanced metal-based materials to create a containment device that could isolate the energy. The Zephyrians would then use their energy manipulation skills to safely extract the energy from the core. However, implementing the plan was not without its challenges. The unstable energy was highly reactive, and any misstep could cause a catastrophic explosion that would destroy Solara. The task force had to work with extreme caution. Back on Earth, the news of Solara's plight spread. The people of Earth, inspired by the efforts of the cosmic community, began to send supplies and support to Solara. This show of unity from a distant planet gave the Solarians a new sense of hope. As the task force continued to work on the containment device, Emily and David were constantly communicating with the Solarians, trying to keep their spirits up. They also coordinated with the other civilizations in the Cosmic Library, ensuring that all the necessary resources and expertise were available. Finally, after days of intense work, the containment device was completed. The Zephyrians, with the help of the Nebulans, who had a unique understanding of energy flow in extreme conditions, began the delicate process of extracting the unstable energy from the planet's core. The operation was a nerve-wracking one. The energy lashed out, sending shockwaves through the planet. But the task force held their ground. With precise control and a lot of luck, they managed to successfully extract the unstable energy and contain it within the metallic device. The Solarians were overjoyed. Their planet began to heal almost immediately. The blackened patches on the ground disappeared, and the atmosphere cleared. The people of Solara, grateful for the help, decided to join the Cosmic Library. They were eager to share their unique technology and learn from the other civilizations. The addition of the Solarians to the Cosmic Library was a significant event. It not only increased the library's knowledge base but also strengthened the bonds between the civilizations. The experience also taught Emily and David an important lesson about the importance of unity in the face of cosmic challenges. However, the incident with Solara also highlighted a potential threat. The existence of rogue groups conducting dangerous experiments was a cause for concern. The civilizations in the Cosmic Library decided to establish a regulatory body to monitor and prevent such unauthorized activities in the future. Emily and David were tasked with leading the efforts to set up this regulatory body. They traveled to each of the member civilizations, discussing the need for regulations and the structure of the body. The process was not without its challenges. Each civilization had its own political and cultural systems, and finding a common ground was difficult. But through countless meetings, negotiations, and compromises, they were able to come up with a framework for the regulatory body. It would be a decentralized organization, with representatives from each civilization. Its main functions would be to monitor scientific experiments, ensure the safety of all planets, and promote ethical behavior in cosmic research. As the regulatory body started to take shape, Emily and David received another message. This time, it was from a civilization that lived in a binary star system. The Binarians, as they were called, were highly advanced in the field of astrophysics and had developed a unique form of space-time manipulation technology. The Binarians were interested in joining the Cosmic Library but had some concerns about the regulatory body. They were worried that the regulations would stifle their scientific progress. Emily and David knew they had to address these concerns if they wanted the Binarians to become part of the community. They traveled to the Binarians' planet to meet with their leaders. The planet was a fascinating place, with 2 stars in the sky, casting a strange, dual-colored light over the landscape. The Binarians, with their crystalline-like bodies, were both beautiful and intimidating. Emily and David spent days in discussions with the Binarians. They explained the purpose of the regulatory body, how it was designed to protect all civilizations from dangerous experiments, and how it could actually enhance scientific progress by promoting collaboration and sharing of knowledge. Slowly, the Binarians began to see the benefits. They agreed to join the Cosmic Library, on the condition that they could have some input into the regulatory body's operations. Emily and David were happy to oblige. They knew that the inclusion of the Binarians would bring a wealth of knowledge and new perspectives to the Cosmic Library. Back at the Cosmic Library, preparations were underway to integrate the Binarians' knowledge. The library was constantly evolving, growing both in size and in the complexity of its operations. Emily and David, as the architects of this cosmic community, were proud of what they had accomplished but also aware of the many challenges that still lay ahead. One of the new challenges was how to manage the increasing amount of data in the library. The addition of the Solarians and the Binarians had put a strain on the data, storage and retrieval systems. A team of engineers from all the civilizations was assembled to work on upgrading the systems. They decided to develop a new, more efficient data storage medium based on a combination of Zephyrine crystal technology, metal-Li-En metal, alloy structures, and Earth-inspired digital coding. The project was ambitious, but they were confident that they could create a system that could handle the ever-growing knowledge of the Cosmic Library. As they worked on the data storage upgrade, Emily and David also had to deal with cultural differences among the member civilizations. There were occasional misunderstandings and conflicts, especially when it came to the sharing of knowledge. Some civilizations were more protective of their unique knowledge, while others were more open-handed. Emily and David, along with the representatives of the regulatory body, began to develop a set of guidelines for knowledge sharing. These guidelines would ensure that all civilizations' interests were protected while also promoting the free flow of information. One day, while Emily was mediating a dispute between the Lumerians and the Metal-Liens over the sharing of some advanced energy conversion knowledge, she had an epiphany. She realized that the key to a successful cosmic community was not just about technology and regulations but also about understanding and respecting each other's cultures. She proposed the creation of a cultural exchange program within the Cosmic Library. The program would encourage civilizations to send representatives to each other's planets, to learn about their cultures, traditions, and ways of life. This, she believed, would help to build stronger bonds and prevent future conflicts. The idea was met with enthusiasm from all the member civilizations. Plans were immediately set in motion to launch the cultural exchange program. Emily and David were excited about this new initiative. They knew that it would add a new dimension to the cosmic library, making it not just a repository of knowledge but also a place where civilizations could truly connect on a deeper level. As the cultural exchange program got underway, with the first groups of representatives from different civilizations preparing to embark on their journeys, Emily and David looked out at the stars from the observation deck of the cosmic library. They knew that their work was far from done, but they were filled with a sense of hope and purpose. The cosmic community they had helped to build was growing, evolving, and facing challenges head-on. And they were determined to be a part of its continued growth and success.